Welcome, everybody, to Talk About Podcast. Even though this ain't the podcast, this is Talk About That. You guys can follow us on Instagram, follow us on TikTok, and subscribe here on YouTube. Today, we have a great guest. He is a former wrestler. He's a blue belt in Jiu Jitsu. He's one of the best wrestlers I know personally. David Cox, thank you so much for doing this, man. I really appreciate it.
Man, thanks for having me on.
Yes, sir. What are you up to right now? What's going on with the David Cox life?
Dude, mostly just been working lately.
Yeah.
Yeah, finishing up rehab on the knee. You know, I'd say I'm probably like 70%, you know, so trying to work my way back just strength-wise mostly. And then also just my motion, like agility-wise, isn't quite there. So
yeah, you came back for Chris's brown belt.
Yep.
And, how did you feel when you were rolling with everybody?
I felt good, but I was just sitting in guard most of the time.
Yeah. Well, that one entry to saddle that you did, Chris has been trying to teach me.
Oh, yeah.
And it's helping me a lot with being able to understand single leg X, X guard, reverse X guard, all the freaking guards, so that stuff's definitely helping a lot.
There's a lot to it, and I feel like it doesn't really correlate with wrestling. Like, you don't really, there's no real connection with it, so you have to kind of, separate the two in your head a little bit.
And we're going to get more into jiu-jitsu in a little bit, but I want to start with wrestling just because that was the big highlight of your career and with everything. When did you start wrestling?
So I believe I was 10 years old when I started wrestling. I played football. Well, that year was the first year I played football. I didn't even know how to play football when I started that season.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so I went through the full football season, and then I just saw a sign up on the side of the road, like a little sign for it.
You were 10 years old?
Yeah, 10 years old.
So what grade is that? Third?
That's
third, fourth?
I want to say that's like fourth or fifth.
Fourth or fifth?
Yeah, because I think in middle school I had like 3 years wrestling experience,
Okay, so you go into middle school. How did you do your middle school career? I know you're an extremely humble person, but
middle school?
Be honest with me. Did you do good?
I did well in middle school, yeah.
Were you varsity?
I think I lost in middle school. I lost one match by DQ.
Okay, so I'm talking about varsity, and Dave only lost one match by DQ.
Well, there's a big difference between middle school and high school, is what you'll find.
Yeah, well, okay, so you only lost one match, and it was by DQ.
Holy smokes!
Yeah, okay. So that was actually thinking of itself. I was at it was like a Garnet tournament over in Garnet Valley.
Yeah, you remember it? What happened?
Oh yeah, so I was in the finals in this tournament. Had a single leg on the kid, and he jumped up. I returned him on the mat, and he landed head first. So it was crazy.
Jeez, but only loss of the middle schooler. Who was your coach during your middle school time?
Dan Greer.
Dan Greer. Wow.
Yep.
Interesting.
Uncle Dan.
Lots of different people interchanged with the middle school coach. High school always kind of stayed the same for the most part, especially with Coach Gold always being there. I mean, Gold was there forever.
Yeah, he was there my
longest tenured.
My whole career there.
Yeah, so, but you move on to high school. This is obviously where things start to get a little bit more legit. I'm not even going to ask if you were varsity because I already know the answer to that. But you were varsity. What weight class were you wrestling in high school? And did it change throughout freshman all the way up to senior year? Yeah,
so pretty much every year I wrestled, honestly, up through senior year. Like I think middle school, 7th grade, I was 120, 122.
Okay.
130 in 8th grade, 145 freshman year. 52 sophomore, 60 junior, and then 70 senior.
So you just kept going
every
up. Every
year I was up a little bit.
Gotcha. And
senior year might have been wrestling a little heavy, but other than that, it was kind of like where my body was at for the most part.
And I know this was a little bit ago. How old are you now? 24? 23?
Yep, 24.
Okay,
yeah.
So you're 24 years old. So I know this was a little bit ago, but when you were in, I don't know how much you can remember, but it was your freshman year.
Yeah.
How was your freshman year of high school? How did you do? And with all the guys, because another big thing with wrestling in high school, everybody changes. And what I mean by that is your freshman year, it's not the same guys as your sophomore year because people leave and people come in. So how was your freshman year? Did you have a good freshman year?
I think I only had, I'm gonna say like 7 or 8 matches that year before I went out with my elbow injury.
Okay.
So I had surgery on my right elbow.
And you got hurt your freshman year.
Yeah, I had there was a growth plate problem with my elbow.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I mean, it was funny though, because I had a pretty big ego going in my freshman year.
Yeah.
Because I never lost in middle school. I thought I was pretty good. And then our first match of the year was over at Glen Mills, I remember.
Yeah. Did you feel like it was a humbling, like, did you feel like you walked?
Oh yeah, it was humbling, yeah, because I wrestled against a kid who probably had only wrestled maybe 1-2 years max, but he was real strong. I was wrestling up a weight class.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say your freshman year, you said you wrestled 8 matches.
Honestly, I can't remember exactly. I want to say it was like 8 or so, maybe.
Okay, so you did 7 or 8 matches. How did you do it? What was your ratio?
Actually, no, it was maybe it was more like 13 or 15. I can't remember, but it was probably like maybe I won 2/3 of them or something like that.
Okay, gotcha. So your freshman year, you go out with your injury. You come back now, sophomore year. You said you wrestled up. This is now a new weight class. What weight class was sophomore year again?
152.
152. So sophomore year, 152. How did your sophomore year go?
Same thing. I wrestled probably 11 matches, and then both my shoulders were messed up. So
Jesus.
that was it.
Wrestling's a tough sport.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it was like old injuries. I had torn labrums in both my shoulders when I was probably like 8th or 9th grade, and then I wrestled with it until I was junior. And then after junior year is when I had 2 surgeries,
Were you just devastated that you come back your next year, you thought your freshman year was going to be your time to shine, you get hurt with your elbow injury, and now both shoulders are blowing out? Were you devastated your sophomore year?
Probably not as much as I should have been, because I really lost, I lost a chance to have like 100 wins, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like stat-wise, I guess it was a big deal. But, in a way, I think it was good because it made me more, grateful that I could wrestle when I was a junior and senior,
Yeah. So then.
Like I was very, very motivated by the time my junior year came around, putting in time all summer, all fall,
Well, that's what I was going to say. Hard. That was the next thing I was going to follow up with is that you wrestled year-round pretty much when you were healthy, right?
Yeah, I feel like almost all those guys,
Yeah, most of them. And that's why I was saying, like, who, just to shout out a couple different people, who would you say in that room from your 4-year tenured give me 3 guys that were like, those guys really helped me a lot. I worked with them all the time. They were like,
one for sure would definitely be Harry. Like back in the day, like in my senior year, he was my training partner like 95% of the time.
Yeah. That's great.
And he was just a great worker, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and then you guys even kind of, something that I always thought was so interesting when I would talk to Chris about everything is Chris would be like, dude, me and Dave would come in here for hours and hours and hours and hours.
Oh, yeah.
And it'd be me, his wrestling against my jiu-jitsu, and he talks about that all the time and is like obsessed with the thought of you coming back so you guys can do those hours and hours and hours of training together. And I always told Chris, especially when I first met him, I was like, dude, that's the same thing my brother and Dave did when they wrestled. It's the same thing.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
senior year, he was like my guy.
Yeah. So before we get to senior year, I didn't want to skip through that. I do want to talk about your junior year, especially because you get hurt your freshman year at the elbow. Now you got 2 shoulders that are blown out. Now we go in the junior year. How did your junior year go?
It went well. I mean, honestly, I can't remember my record exactly, but I'm trying to think. I think I was undefeated most of the year.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have like the toughest schedule. It was mostly Chester County.
Yeah, but come on.
And then, and then regionals. Yeah, so I think I might have had 1 loss or was undefeated in the regionals.
Jeez.
And then made it to the semis and got beat. And I was
Was that it? Once you got to the semis, were you out?
No, so I lost to this guy in the semis. He was a tough dude. I think
third place?
Yeah, I ended up taking 3rd.
Okay.
But the semis I lost to this kid. I want to say he was from Conestoga.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
He was a real strong,
you lost
tough
in the
kid.
semis. Gotcha.
Yeah. And then in the consies, I ended up taking 3rd.
Gotcha. So you did go to States.
Yeah,
Okay,
I went to States.
How did States go your junior year?
The first day went really well. I'll say that. So I think I had a pigtail match, and gosh, it's been a long time.
I know that's why I know we're taking it back memory lane.
So I won my first match in the
I didn't mean to put you on the
pigtails. It
spot.
was a tough match.
Yeah.
And then I had a really good second match too, in like I guess it was like round of 16.
Now, was this a cool this is your first time going to States?
Yeah.
Let's all be honest here. You would have went to States your freshman and sophomore year.
Freshman, I don't know, man.
Definitely your sophomore. You definitely would have went to States your sophomore year. I know that. And your third year, this is your first time at States because of all the injuries, especially.
Yeah.
You got your seasons taken away from you. When you got to States, before you wrestled any matches, were you like, this is great? I've been hurt my past 2 years. I put in the work, and now I'm at States my junior year, and I still have another year ahead of me. Like, do you remember how you were feeling during those times?
I was real hyped up about it.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
And
you were competing against the best guys, like in the the state.
Oh,
or
yeah.
maybe
And
even
PA,
the country to some level.
Yeah, exactly, definitely with how good this state is. And another thing is, like, when you did get to States and you did wrestle your first match, were you extremely nervous? Was it heightened nerves, or were you the exact same as when you wrestled at regionals? Because now I
would say, like, in the warm-up and stuff, there's more nerves. But by the time you're, like, out there and you're actually wrestling,
at that point,
like, you kind of get in your zone a little. But I'd say you're still probably a little more nervous than normal,
Gotcha.
This is a pretty big deal, if you win or lose.
Yeah, for sure.
Matches.
So then you move on to your senior year.
Yeah.
How did your senior year go? This is your last year.
Same story. So I go the long way around. So going into my junior year, I still had 2 torn labrums.
Jeez.
So then I knew right after states I would have to go in and get 2 surgeries. It was like a 6-week stagger.
How many surgeries did you get in high school?
In high school, I guess it was 3 total because I have elbow and then both shoulders.
Jeez.
But yeah, so I guess I was done with rehab on both my shoulders probably by the end of summer.
Gotcha.
Going into my senior year.
And senior year was a similar.
It was similar. States. Yeah, I think I might have had a couple more losses going into states up at 170. I won regionals that year. In the first day, I think I won my first match, tough match again, And then
was it just a completely
took the quarterfinal slide?
Yeah.
Out.
Well, let
so
me ask you this.
Both years,
let me ask you this because not many people can say they went to states and did this, that, and the other, and that's why I want to ask. Was it a completely different? Did you feel like at regionals, maybe not your junior year, but let's talk about senior year because that's what we're on. When you went into regionals, you won regionals. Did you feel like the competition went from here to here once you got to states? Like it really changed. It really was the best guys from all over the state.
I would say my senior year, yes, and junior year probably not quite as much.
Okay, there was more of a draft.
I didn't win, and there was some really tough kids in my regional bracket. Whereas in senior year, I don't think anyone from my region placed.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. We had a couple guys who were blood rounders like me, but I don't think anybody,
I understand.
into the podium. So it wasn't quite as competitive in our region that year. But.
So your senior year closes and you commit to where?
So that was a long story too. So I was initially thinking I was going to end up at Lockhaven.
Okay.
D1.
D1.
Yeah, they were pretty good. Okay. Yeah, I think they were 17th at one point. They were pretty.
Jesus.
They had a really good wrestling program there.
Yeah. And what happened? So what happened? Sorry to interrupt.
So I liked the idea of going there definitely wrestling wise, but then academically it was kind of a better option for me to go to Liberty.
Okay.
Because I wanted to go into engineering.
And what was Liberty? Liberty was what? They
were actually club.
Okay, they were just a club team.
Yeah.
You know what? Now that you're bringing, so the reason why I asked,
they competed a lot, like dual meets and stuff. We wrestled some good, so we wrestled a lot of D1, D2, D3 guys through the season, but their national title or national championship tournament was all club.
Yeah, that's so interesting that you bring that up because I remember Harry went to Keystone first, and then he went to Elizabethtown. He transferred to Elizabethtown.
I do remember that. Yeah,
and I remember I saw you, in his I think first or second year. I can't remember if he was at Keystone or Elizabethtown, but
yeah,
I remember now that you bring it up that it was Liberty. Did you switch again? Did you go from Liberty somewhere else, or was it Liberty and Liberty stayed?
No, so I was at Liberty for my full freshman year I was there.
Okay.
And then my first semester sophomore year I was there.
Gotcha.
And then I really did want to wrestle Division 1, so I went over and I wrestled a semester at Lockhaven. And then I ended up switching back to Liberty.
Jeez.
Yeah, so I was all over the place.
Why so many switches?
It was kind of just a conflict between what I wanted to do with school and what I wanted to do with wrestling.
What was more important to you?
It was kind of alternating a little bit.
Let's be honest here.
I could say academics, but at the time,
yeah. So that's the thing.
I was very focused on wrestling at that point, training all the time.
So when was your last year of wrestling officially? Then
it was spring of 2020, I guess, was my last semester wrestling.
And at Liberty?
Yeah, at Liberty.
You ended at Liberty. Why did you stop spring 2020? Did you graduate?
No, I didn't. I still actually now have some credits I'd have to finish up.
Okay. You just stopped because of.
Well, there's a lot of factors like financially,
okay.
And stuff like that. I ended up doing online school going into that next fall.
Was it hard to step away from the sport that you've been doing since fifth grade? Because that's the one thing that does suck about amateur wrestling. Unless you go to the Olympics, there is no professional. You can go in the UFC. You can do you can do jiu-jitsu and you can compete in jiu-jitsu, but there really isn't a. After college is the NFL of wrestling. You know what I mean? College wrestling, D1 wrestling, especially, the NCAA tournament. That is the Super Bowl of, collegiate wrestling. So that's why I just feel like, was it tough when you had to hang up the shoes per se?
In a way it was, yeah. I mean, I was kind of like the situation I was at Liberty wasn't the greatest my last semester. Gotcha. At least with the wrestling aspect of it, you know what I mean? So I was kind of like, I'm not going to be wrestling here. So yeah, I was kind of like, am I going to go wrestle somewhere else or am I going to,
exactly
be done? And at that time was actually when I started jiu-jitsu that summer.
So that's what I was.
I actually reached out to Big Brandon.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what I was going to ask next. How did you get from wrestling to jiu-jitsu and why? Why did you do it?
So I was actually asking him about what he would advise kind of as your first step towards MMA training, And he said jiu-jitsu is like, you should go try it.
Okay, so this is so interesting. And this is where probably Riley's going to chip in more. I knew Riley was going to be more quiet during this part because this is all about the wrestling talk, and I wanted to just shine some light on it. Was MMA in the cards?
I mean, I just wanted to train it a little bit. I just wanted to see like what it was all about. You know what I mean? Because I knew my striking was garbage. Like I didn't have any of that. Skill set.
You're wrestling.
I was interested.
Yeah. So okay, so you get into jiu-jitsu, and how did you do? Be honest with me when you first got in. Like, the
first day.
First day I got in, I think I got you. Did you ever meet Anthony? He was one of the.
No.
He's a black belt. He coaches out at what's it called? BJJ Squared, I think.
Okay, if I see a picture, I would maybe know.
But anyways, I think I rolled with him and a couple of like the people who he mainly trained.
Yeah.
And I got tapped like a lot. It was in the gi,
Okay,
and they were drilling closed guard chokes, so I was getting tapped out with all kinds of stuff.
Well, gi especially for a wrestler.
I was getting all tired too. Like,
it would completely.
Even though my cardio was pretty good.
But how about no gi? How did you do in no gi? That had to be more comfortable for you, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's very similar to wrestling in a lot of ways on the feet. So, I mean, I did pretty. I think I was like probably the second or third week I was training. I did no gi. And I mean, I had the idea, like I know how to take people down and stuff like that. Obviously wrestling, but it just took a little time, I guess, to get the submission game going.
Do you? What's the hardest part for you for jiu-jitsu? Is it guard?
For jiu-jitsu?
Learning your guard, or?
Yeah, I'd say probably one of the hardest things was learning how to like not get past.
Yeah.
When I was trying to do guard.
Yep.
And also, like if you're going against the black belts, it's hard to actually pass them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it's a.
Like you would think it's easy from wrestling, but it is a challenge. You know what I mean? Because you have to change your strategy.
That's kind of what Chris said to me too when I came in, and I was nothing really special in wrestling at all. But
I don't know.
But here's the thing.
You're pretty well back in the day.
Well, here's the thing. The thing is, what I at least say now is wrestling really didn't do. I wrestled for 12 years.
Same.
But I never really pushed myself hard enough I didn't care enough. With Harry,
I feel like that's everyone though. Like even if you like, I put a lot of time into stuff, but I feel like I still didn't care. You know what I mean? Like if I could go back,
you would change some stuff.
Yeah, the way I train in the summer, my diet,
Yeah,
putting in hours in the morning, like that sort of thing. You'd obviously want to change.
Yeah, and for sure, and just for context, Harry's my brother. If anybody's curious, and big thing is, Harry loved it. He was so hardworking, so passionate about. I just didn't. I didn't care as much about amateur wrestling. I was a professional wrestling fan. The goal was to always get into WWE and be that guy. And I did do that when I was 16. I went to a school and I went to MCW and I did really well. But then I hurt my back and then my passion started to change. And that's kind of how I got into jiu-jitsu. But that's a whole other story for another time. But
did you wrestle all 4 years in high school?
No, only my sophomore year.
Only sophomore. Okay.
I wrestled all middle school and then I wrestled everywhere from there. But when I got into high school my freshman year, I wanted to take a break.
Yeah.
I did a lot my 8th grade year. I wrestled. I was the student council president. I was, in band. I was like, and Ra, you want to fix that?
Yeah.
And, it was just a lot. So I wanted to take my freshman year off. And then I started wrestling my sophomore year. And I started to do okay, but then I got hurt. And then just took the last years off because my junior year is when I started doing the MCW thing and started doing professional wrestling.
Gotcha.
But, a big thing is, for me, is that with jiu-jitsu is, and I want to go back to this, Chris always told me that because I wrestled, passing will be easier. I still have so much challenge with passing people's guard.
Trying to pass.
Yeah, that's true too.
If you're Chris and Jamie, or are you talking like some new guy? You know what I mean?
Exactly. And a big thing is that I always said this, is that I never cared about wrestling. My skills in wrestling never were that high level, but how much it's helping me now is immense. My wrestling is better now because of jiu-jitsu, if that makes any sense. What do you like more? If you could pick for the rest of your life, jiu-jitsu or wrestling, what would you choose for the rest of your life?
That's a very tough question. I'm trying to think.
Yeah, on the spot, I had to.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like when I was in wrestling, I would have chose wrestling. When I was in jiu-jitsu, I probably would have chose jiu-jitsu, because I was having a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Like before.
You plan to come back?
I mean, I'd like to, but I mean, the thing is, if I do, I'd like to compete and stuff, and it'd be hard to compete,
Because of the injuries?
Yeah. Because just the the issue of heel hooks and all that stuff would be tough,
With your knees?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little scared on my
left
knee.
It is. I would be too. Especially.
And then also, it's like technically you should wait like 2 years after ACL. So.
Yeah, I'm competing on May 6th. It'd be my first jiu-jitsu tournament.
Is it Grappling Industries or?
It's a Good Fight Foundation.
Nice. Is it no-gi?
Yeah. Chris is doing gi and no gi. There's a lot of people, in my weight class, and I just kind of want to focus on no gi.
Yeah.
Is it submissions only too?
Submission only.
Submission only, man.
Yeah, it's gonna be submission only.
One of those two. It was tough.
Yeah. And it's so interesting because at practice when we do points, I feel like I always excel, and I think that has to do with wrestling.
I think I'm the same way. Like if it's points, I feel like I'm better off.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
It's a different mentality if it's submission only.
But I think after the submission, it will go to overtime, and it will be put into 3 different positions. It'll probably be back, armbar, and that triangle.
TBI rules,
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
So I'm excited. I'm nervous. It's my first tournament. I'm actually going up. I'm wrestling 170, or I'm not wrestling, but I'm grappling at 170.
Yeah.
I wanted to cut down to 155, which I think I could do. It would be a little bit of a cut, but
yeah.
What
do you weigh right now?
Right now I'm like 170.
Oh, okay.
So I could.
I just do 70 if I were you. Honestly.
Yeah. Well,
it'd be a really good experience.
Yeah, and I think
first time.
Yeah. I just don't know. There's nobody when you can look at the list and there's no lightweights right now.
Like do you watch much jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, we
like,
just
like PJ Barch.
Yeah, we actually just watched. Have you watched combat jiu-jitsu?
A little bit.
What do you think about combat jiu-jitsu?
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know if I'd want to do it, but
I don't think I would do it either. But we watched it, and it was freaking wild. And honestly, like, definitely probably something I would never get into, but I don't know, we'll see. But
your tournament, people are thinking the same thing of what you're thinking.
Yeah,
they're nervous. It's white belt.
Yeah, I would honestly just try to do like the stuff like
that works for me.
Don't go my advice would be don't go out there and just hit your double leg and win 2-0, or there's no points in it, but don't just try to like stall out position just because you know how to wrestle.
Yeah,
and you're nervous and you want to win.
Practice your
I would
jiu-jitsu.
try to like use the moves that you work on a little bit.
Yeah, and you know,
I know guys like even those grappling industry tournaments, so like wrestlers who just go there to play guard because you're gonna get better. Like you get 8 or 10 matches. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
get your money's worth out of it. As like I would say, you know what I mean?
That is true.
Yeah.
I mean, don't be like flippantly go out there and just be stupid, but like try to use like stuff you work on.
I'm really just trying to work with Chris.
I would recommend.
If I can do something, not submit, but if I can do something against Chris, it makes me feel better that I'm going into a white belt tournament. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if I can.
No one you're gonna face is possibly gonna be near as good as he is.
Chris is he's a wizard. When you got into jiu-jitsu, were you so happy that you were able to meet him and get into it with him? And
oh yeah, man, he was tough. It's funny, he's actually lives like right behind my house.
Yeah.
So I grew up like I never really knew him that well, but he lives like right by me. So
yeah, I know where he lives. So I never knew that you were.
Yeah, so he's like right over that way. But yeah, I honestly I had no clue he even did jiu-jitsu. But then I rolled with him and he like triangle choked me 2 or 3 times the first night. So I was like, dang.
Yeah, I know. But then did you? He's definitely definitely took some stuff from your wrestling as well. That's probably what helped is that you had come from this wrestling background. You're in this insane wrestler, and he is insane at jiu-jitsu, and then you're mixing them together. You won't give yourself anything. Huh? You really won't. Like, come on, Dave. You're a good wrestler. You're not gonna say. You're a good wrestler.
I mean, I was. For jiu-jitsu, for sure. I mean, it just depends on who you're talking about. You know what I mean?
I know. Well, I'm not. Yeah.
Depends on who you're going against. I know,
but you got to give yourself a little bit of props here. We know you're a good wrestler. You're a great wrestler. You're beyond the average. That's for sure. So give yourself some props. And if you're not going to, I will. I'll continue to give it to you throughout the podcast. But
yeah, man, Chris was tough. Like when I first started at the gym, he would beat the crap out of me most of the time.
Yeah.
But then I feel like I was training all the time. I would train. I go, to the practices, like I think there were like 2 practices on certain nights and stuff, and I would go to both of them. I train early and everything, and I got to the point we were like real close, and then it would be like one week Chris is, tapping me out with stuff, and the next week I'm passing his guard, controlling, Yeah, we kind of back and forth, and I feel like that helped us both, kind of.
Yeah, I was gonna say
he was a blue belt. He was. I don't even know if he might have had like 2 stripes as a blue belt when I started, and I was like a 0 white belt or whatever, for the first few months.
And you got your blue belt in 4 months, right? That's what I was.
Yeah, something like that. It was a few months. I don't remember exactly.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I think I did I might have done 1 tournament with a white belt, but I feel like it was a little unfair just because I've wrestled for forever, and I'm going against kids who just started jiu-jitsu. Right. So
that's kind of what I was gonna say. Like when you come in and you're going against somebody who's just a white belt, like this is why the whole belt thing can be kind of confusing sometimes because in all honesty, I know you're a blue belt right now. But we were just talking about this today in the sauna. You're not really a blue belt because like you said, you come into this gym and you're already starting to roll with the black belts because you're a wrestler. And I feel like that's where it gets interesting. Where do you feel like things really start to change? Would you say like purple belt? Like if you had to say a belt where, or do you feel like there isn't much change? Like, do you understand what I'm trying to ask?
I think it totally depends because I feel like there's different standards, different places you go.
Yeah.
You know, because I've rolled with like black belts who are like insane, you know, and tap me at will pretty much, you know. And then I've rolled with like, you know, black belts I can tap out. So it totally depends on the gym.
Yeah.
You know, the competition, it's just, it's hard to say with just the belt, you know, just going off a belt. I feel like it kind of depends on what gym.
And when you started competing, did you feel like that you were, or maybe not feel like, but were you making jiu-jitsu like you're wrestling? Like, did you just take wrestling, that passion that you had, and switched it?
I mean, I was probably putting more time into jiu-jitsu, honestly.
Really?
Yeah, like I was doing,
because
like every evening after work, I would be in there, you know, doing like 2 or 3 sessions.
And is this because you wanted to compete in jiu-jitsu, or it was eventually to kind of get your foot in the door with MMA?
No, it was more, I just want to compete in jiu-jitsu.
Okay,
you know,
gotcha.
At the time, I thought maybe eventually I get an MMA.
Gotcha.
But I was thinking, I just want to compete high level, you know, jiu-jitsu.
And then you get hurt. So when did you get hurt? How did it happen?
Gosh, so it was, you know, the Fury. I don't know if you have Fury grappling.
Yep.
Yeah, so I was at, I guess it was like their second or third thing.
Oh, it was during competing?
Yeah, so I was out in Philly.
Gotcha.
It was,
at the was it at the 2-300?
Yeah, I think, what's
That's
his
really
name?
Cool.
The Dalashvili dude.
Oh, yeah, Marab.
He was like the main card.
Marab?
Yeah, I was like the first or second match.
Jeez. Dave's on a Marab card.
Well, I was like the undercard. They have like the youth kids, and they have me.
Well, Riley's favorite UFC fighter is
favorite
Marab.
No.
Marab at all.
You don't like Marab?
He's not a Marab.
Dude, he's awesome.
He's crazy.
His gas tank is insane.
Insanity.
He was like a psycho in that jiu-jitsu match.
Did he do good? I'm sure he won.
He lost.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he was going against a leg locker, so the guy just pulled guard.
See, that's the thing.
He didn't get tapped, but he I think the judges gave him the other guy the decision.
Gotcha.
Close,
he had like 80 takedown defense in his last fight
against Jan.
Which is insane.
Are you keep up with the UFC?
Oh yeah,
okay,
I keep
great.
Up pretty good.
That's awesome. We ought to have you on the Talk Bout podcast, the actual the UFC podcast. We do that every Monday.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you do keep up with the UFC. Are you watching the fights? How deep are you? Are you watching the fights this week, like the fight nights this weekend? Are you?
If there's like a couple guys I like watching, I'll watch them. But
it's,
who's fighting this weekend?
Pavlovich against Blades, heavyweight.
Maybe.
What do you think about that fight? Do you have any interest in more or less?
I haven't watched Pavlovich before. I've watched Blades a couple times.
Yeah,
he's a good tough wrestler. You know.
Yeah, Pavlovich is an absolute freight train.
Is he a wrestler or is he a striker? I don't.
Well, he's a little bit of both. I would say he's more of a wrestler. No, Pavlovich.
Oh, Pavlovich is.
He's a little bit more of a wrestler.
But
he's got the freaking hands. His hands are as big as my head.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that for a fact.
Russian guy.
And his body's like as big as this room.
Yeah. He's a freaking beast incarnate.
Insane.
Did you just watch the last card that just happened, UFC 287 with Israel Adesanya and Alex Bejeda?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my. Dude.
Yeah, that was insane.
That was bad news, Bears.
I really thought Pereira was going to win that, honestly.
Yeah.
So did I.
He looked way better in the first couple rounds.
Yeah.
Sorry, what were you saying?
I wanted Pereira to win, too.
Yeah.
I was rooting for him. But yeah,
dude, when that happened,
he was done.
He was done.
He was just getting bored.
No,
he was just getting bored of winning.
Nah, he got freaking slept. His eyes were in the back of his head. Right there. Let's be honest here. It was bad news, Bears.
It was really.
It's going to be a few months before he's back.
Be a few
say
months.
that.
Be a few years.
Nah. But what would be your advice for somebody who's done nothing? Riley has no wrestling experience. He has no anything experience. He's just gotten into jiu-jitsu. Finally, we've been talking about it on the podcast when we're going to get him in. Now with the sponsorship with Rev, we've got Riley in. We've really been going. He's been going, every week, hard, He's looking pretty good for somebody who's done nothing. What would be your advice for somebody who has no experience in jiu-jitsu?
Well, for wrestling, I always would say just focus on the fundamentals. You know what I mean? Like in wrestling, it's your stance. It's your defense, you know what I mean? In jiu-jitsu, I would say probably your defense,
Yeah.
You want to learn how to, get out, you want to have someone start on your back and learn how to get out of the choke and stuff like that.
Try to survive, get out of it.
Yeah, learn the escapes and stuff like that. And then start, working in your offense. But I also wouldn't get caught up too much in, learning crazy, De La Hiva stuff and all that too early. Yeah. I would focus just on basic stuff, basic movements that don't take too much, it's coordination or memorization. It's hard when they show a 6-step move out there.
Yeah, and then you're like,
there's no way
I
it's
know.
impossible.
And
I'm
it's
actually
just,
going to be able to hit this on somebody for another 5 years.
Yeah.
So you want to basic passing,
I always
basic
want
guard retention, like stuff like that.
But isn't that what you want anyway, Dave? Like, isn't that like what you want? You want a move that's simple, to the point, and it gets you to where you need to be, that you can feel confident.
Quick.
I mean, like, it's always cool, especially when you start getting more high level, to do some interesting high trick, high step moves. But at least maybe for me, because I'm still kind of new to it. You know, I just want the stuff that's going to just get me to where I need to be.
Yeah, I feel like fundamentals is always where you want to be, start out at least, and then slowly start working in that more advanced stuff, the purple and, brown and black belts are using.
Did you
like Chris,
there 7 months?
Where?
Or how long?
I've been doing gi for 5.5 months.
You started just no gi?
I started for the first 2 months. I only did gi. So I've done no gi.
Oh, okay.
I take that back. Did no gi for 2 months, and then I decided to do the gi. Originally, I was just gonna do no gi, and had no desire to do gi. And then I'm like, hold on a minute, I got it. I have to get in the gi.
Usually it's the other way.
Really? Yeah, no.
I feel like people start in the gi, or at least like from what I hear.
Especially because that was the mainstay. But no, I didn't. I felt like I was gonna like no gi more because of wrestling.
Yeah.
I do like no gi more, but I do like gi. Gi helps me, I feel like, practice the fundamentals of stuff. Did you ever compete gi?
Yeah. I think I did like 2 of those like grappling industry tournaments. So I had like 8 or 10 matches in a day.
Yeah, did you?
I did both divisions both times. I think.
What do you like more?
I think I definitely like no gi a lot more.
Yeah.
Right now, gi is probably easier for me because I can like get grips and stuff and just pull guard.
Yeah. But with the wrestling.
But
background.
no gi for sure.
Yeah,
I would say out of the 2. But it was fun competing gi because it's something I hadn't done before, so it was cool to do something.
Yeah, for sure.
New.
Yeah, and
it was harder for me in like the tournaments. Like I had closer matches in the gi.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Like I had some tight ones. I remember.
Yeah, well, I'm sure it changes your whole. It's a completely different game. That's why I don't want to do both. I know it's more experience, but
yeah, well, I mean, you can. A lot of the moves you can do them both.
Yeah, that's true too. It's just I just feel like like when I do no-gi, I like to be more wrestler. Yeah. When I do gi, I like to.
In gi, I would do you could do the same stuff a lot of the time, like takedowns.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, but I see what you're saying a little bit to a degree.
Again, Dave, you're you, I'm me, so it's 2 completely different wrestlers.
I mean, I don't know, man. I'm sure your wrestling's better than 90% of the guys you're going to go against.
I hope that I do a decent job.
If you said 12 years. Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot of wrestling. 12 years.
Again, it's just
the neutral position. Like in jiu-jitsu, I feel like that's not focused on as much. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
If you've wrestled and it's a point system sort of tournament, like you should be okay.
Yeah, and that's why it's going to be interesting because it's not points; it's sub only. So no matter
that's different. I did one of those as well.
And no matter how dominant I am, if I get subbed, it doesn't matter. It's over. You know. So hope I don't get subbed. But
happened to me, I did one in I think it was a blue belt tournament.
Yeah.
It was probably like a few months before I blew out my knee.
What was your first tournament?
It was Grappling Industries.
And did you do it for white belt?
I think I might have been like a few stripe white, and I did blue or something. I did intermediate, like no gi. They had like beginner, intermediate, and advanced. So I did intermediate no gi, and then I did blue belt gi, I believe.
Gotcha. Because I
might have just got my blue belt that week or something. I don't remember.
Was it a big accomplishment for you when you got your blue belt, or did you get it and you kind of knew?
I mean, it was cool to get it. Yeah.
You knew you were a blue belt, so.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, it depends. Like wrestling, like certain aspects for sure, but then other aspects, like
just
some of the fundamentals of jiu-jitsu that like the kids even know, like shrimping correctly and all that. I didn't really, I wasn't that good at it. You know what I mean? So I was like really high, like good at wrestling and stuff like that, takedowns. But then when it comes to like, certain guard, closed guard and stuff, I wasn't that great.
And that's the thing.
So.
Just learning kind of the fundamentals and stuff. Yeah, I mean, if it wasn't all about that, you would have got your blue belt when you probably first walked through the door. You know what I mean? In all honesty, with your wrestling. But, you didn't. That's just not how it works, unfortunately. You really don't think you're going to compete again with the knee? Or you just not soon, at least?
Probably. I mean, I'd like to, but right now, I have a hard time seeing it happen. If I screw something up with my knee, it's going to be, hard to walk when I'm in my 30s, 40s.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I'm kind of.
Is that the knee?
Like to get into coaching eventually, most likely.
Wrestling?
Yeah. I don't think I have the jiu-jitsu experience to really be coaching too much unless I really started training for a few years. You know what I mean?
You want to be like a high school coach?
I could see myself. Yeah, I could see myself doing like middle school, high school, probably.
That would be awesome.
That'd be cool.
It should be fun.
Yeah.
I haven't looked into it too much yet, but eventually.
Right now, how many stripes do you have on your blue belt? 3?
I believe 3.
Okay, so you have 3 stripes on your blue belt.
Yeah.
Does it tempt you to get that purple belt? I mean, does it not matter as much to you? Do the belts not matter to you as much? You know,
I mean, the belts are I think they're like the intention's cool with the belts. You know what I mean? Like progress. You know, seeing your progress and stuff like that's neat. I mean, I'd like to just with no-gi, I'd probably be focusing more on no-gi most likely if I were to train. You know.
Yeah, and I guess at that point,
which isn't as much oriented with the belts. It seems like
exactly. Yeah,
I just like to see I just like to see myself get better. I don't really.
Yeah, for
I don't
sure.
get quite as much involved with the belts, I guess. But
are you watching how you eat too?
I mean, I do to a degree, I guess. I don't eat like garbage or anything, but I don't like eat health food or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're not like on
like I ate like tacos for lunch today.
Yeah.
I'm nothing crazy.
But you're not like just packing down Oreos every.
Yeah. No, I feel like crap. Like I still work out and I try to eat decent. But
are you working out at a gym at home?
Yeah, mostly just at home. I just do like simple stuff. I'll do like maybe 3 or 4 exercises. You know what I mean?
Do you like doing body weight stuff more than weights?
So it's funny, in the fall I was focusing on weights a lot more, and I was probably up to like 180 or so, but since I kind of I was getting a little tight and I hurt my back, I think it was at one point. So I just kind of went back to doing, pull-ups, push-ups mainly.
Is that what you're doing now?
And I do like deadlifts, squats, but I don't do like a lot of small stuff. Like I don't do any curls really. I don't do like any, like tricep extensions, cable tower stuff.
Where did you start to see most of your progress? When you were doing the weight stuff or when you were doing body weight? This is something that always...
I think the best like shape I've ever been in physically probably was when I was like my last semester at Liberty. I would get up in the morning and I would do circuits because I feel like you get more out of doing that.
So what would be like an example of like a circuit?
Example of a circuit. So you take like 5-6 exercises.
Okay.
And then you cycle through them for like, you set a timer for like 30 minutes. I do like 30 minutes.
And then you just do all those exercises?
3 days a week, you go through it. It's a full body thing. So you're focusing on as full body as possible mostly. You're not doing like, forearm curls or something. You're doing like, you do like, so I try to do like maybe deadlifts, squats, pull-ups, bench press then, and like.
And were you deadlifting?
Dumbbell,
were you
shrugs or something.
Were you going light with the weights?
Yeah, you don't max out or anything. You're probably trying to get like 8 or 10 reps. You know what I mean? You're not maxing out your pull-ups every time. You're trying to consistently get 10 or 12 reps,
What do you think is, this is something...
And then you do this for like, if you do this for like 30 minutes, your heart rate's going crazy,
Yeah.
But at that point, like my cardio was good for wrestling, which
means it's really good because
right now it's garbage. Just doing what I do.
But you would know this, right? Because wrestling cardio and normal cardio are 2 different cardios, right? Is that fair to say?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And
if I went in the gym and wrestled right now, I'd be throwing up pretty quick.
Well, how do you get good? How do you get in that wrestling cardio? Just wrestling all the time?
Yeah, that's what it has to be. Those lifts helped a lot,
Do you feel like the cardio with wrestling and jiu-jitsu are the same or no?
No. Jiu-jitsu is a lot easier as far as cardio goes.
I agree.
But it's a little more methodical, like one move to the other. There's not as much explosive.
I guess
at higher belts, there's a lot of explosive, like guys doing jumping triangles and stuff. But in wrestling, it's like, blast double, half Nelson, like it's real quick. But in jiu-jitsu, it's like be a little more methodical. And step to step,
It's just such a high pace for wrestling.
So if you, that's very true. And it is.
Well, there's a little more athleticism, a little more.
Jiu-jitsu's like.
Cardio for sure.
Trying to get in your
it feels more like chess.
Get in your spot.
Yeah, it's like chess.
It's more like chess. Yeah. That's how I would say jiu-jitsu is. Wrestling is like not chess.
Because in jiu-jitsu you can't.
I mean, it is chess. You still need to do the right things and make sure all that works out. But at the same time,
there's a little more athleticism involved in wrestling, I feel like, or there can be. It can be chess, I feel like, at some of the higher levels. You watch those college matches.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Definitely is. But like in high school, a lot of the time, it was, being a good athlete and stuff like that, it's a huge help.
So,
I would say.
I guess.
So you get to like the top and then it's different.
I was gonna ask you take like a really good wrestler, like somebody like Spencer Lee, and you have him go against somebody like Gordon Ryan, who's the number. Now, wait.
If they were the same weight.
If they were the same weight. I know.
That actually happened with Bo Nickel and Gordon Ryan.
But, okay, but here's the thing with that, right?
Yeah.
My question kind of doesn't really matter because it's kind of a simple answer. If they wrestled, Bo Nickel would win. If they grapple, Gordon Ryan wins. That's kind of like, would you say that's how it really goes? Like, whatever you perfect, unless you do both. Like, you're somebody who's gone into jiu-jitsu, so like that doesn't really matter. But I mean, like, if you just take a wrestler, the highest of the elite, the best wrestler against the highest and the best grappler, and they were to, honestly, the middle ground really is jiu-jitsu, isn't it? Because you can wrestle in jiu-jitsu. You can't really, I feel like there's more correlation with wrestling to jiu-jitsu than there is to jiu-jitsu to wrestling. Is that fair?
You're saying like the wrestler would do better in jiu-jitsu sort of thing?
Yes, than the jiu-jitsu guy would do in wrestling.
Yeah, I would say in general for sure. But it's kind of funny because they did another match like that. It was, Roman Bravo Young.
No.
He's Penn State's 133.
Oh, yeah,
wrestler.
you know what?
Yeah,
I have heard of him.
multi-time.
Yeah, he's in.
He just won I think he won NCAAs 2 times.
Penn State.
You obviously know Aljamain Sterling.
Yes, I do.
They did that same thing Gordon Ryan did like a
How
year
did
or
that
two
go?
ago. It's funny because you would think that Bravo Young would dominate the wrestling and be close in jiu-jitsu. But I don't think that was. I think it was 6-4 in wrestling that Bravo Young won. And then in jiu-jitsu, Sterling submitted him like quick. Bravo Young is he's like the best.
Yeah, he's one of the best.
He's a 2-time national champion.
And Sterling's a great wrestler, but Sterling.
I don't know his wrestling background though.
He's a D3 wrestler.
Oh, okay.
How crazy is that? He's
I mean, a lot of those guys are.
Yeah, but he is the Mr.
Like Gaethje,
well, yeah, he
all
ain't
those
it.
guys.
Well, I think Gaethje did he wrestle D3?
He wrestled D1.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Justin
Yeah.
Gaethje,
And he doesn't use it.
And how crazy is that? Like he doesn't even
Which
use
is
his wrestling.
insane.
Yeah, he's
He would
just.
probably be world champ. Well, I don't know. When he did fight for the belt, it was against Habib, and now the
Habib.
champion of the division is Islam. So
Do you think PA's like the best wrestlers come out
yeah,
of that? Yeah.
Dave.
I think it's in college. Yeah, it was proven like this year. Like most of the guys who won or placed All Americans were.
They won
PA.
the team thing again.
But I think like the
Penn
top
State's the
states in
best.
the country are like.
Penn State, Ohio
It's
State.
like yeah. Well, in college, I think it was Penn State. I know Iowa, and then Cornell was up there. States like that. I think.
Yeah.
But if you're like looking at like high school, I think when I was in high school, it was like PA, California, Ohio, and then Iowa was probably a little below.
Yeah.
So PA's
You know.
always.
Oh
in there.
yeah, dude. You
Has
get
to.
the
I think PA though overall is probably
The best.
number
I would
one.
say yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And a big thing is like, it's I don't know. I just find it always interesting because when we talk about MMA guys going to boxing,
Yeah.
this is how I always see it. If you're an MMA guy and you go to boxing,
I don't like.
you're gonna probably lose. But not saying everybody. I mean,
Yeah.
like you take the best boxer against the best UFC fighter in a boxing ring, the boxer's gonna win. Most 9 times out of 10. But on the street in a real fight, it's not even
It's
close.
Not close.
It's not even close. Do you know what would happen if Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather saw each other on the street?
Yeah, I
I'll
can't
tell
picture
you.
that.
Yeah, well, yeah, I can't picture it either, but I'll tell you exactly what would happen. Conor McGregor would leg kick his freaking little legs off so hard, and he'd probably submit him.
Or like John
Well-
Jones and Mike Tyson in both of their primes, who would win in a street fight.
Well, yeah, but
John
here's the thing:
Jones.
Mike Tyson's like,
Well,
he's
he
a
is
little bit
insane.
different. Yeah, he's like
But-
one boxer I would say has a chance. He's like biting
Yeah.
your ear off and stuff.
Yeah, had a lot of street.
But do you
fights.
think so? Like,
I think in a street fight, it would probably a lot of the time it'd be taken to the ground quick.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's
But
where.
then like you get somebody who just does jujitsu, it'd be tough too because like you don't. Someone just hits you with that punch and it's over.
yeah,
You never know
Yeah,
in a street fight
every-
too what could happen. Someone start,
yeah.
what the heck's gonna happen.
And also in a street fight, if you're just a straight jiu-jitsu grappler, and you're trying to like heel hook, somebody can
I
start
think-
hammer fisting you in the face.
yeah, you pull guard, someone
Yeah.
jumps and
yeah,
messes
Yeah,
you
you
up.
don't wanna be
There's not much.
So I
you can
think
do.
every street fight all ends up on the ground. So
yeah. I
Yeah.
But I still think to this day, the core of everything is wrestling. I don't think there's a sport like wrestling. And I'm more passionate about jiu-jitsu, but I know that's the truth. There is no sport like wrestling. The aggression, the things that wrestlers perfect with the mind is something that not normal people can always do.
So
The
their
disi-
mindsets,
Yeah,
and
just
their
the-
discipline.
Yeah, the discipline, the mindset. Would you say this is true?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I feel like the training and stuff's insane.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean,
it can be insane. I should say.
was it
That's
harder in
different.
high school than wrestling, your training? That could also
Then
have to go with
harder in
coaches.
high school than
College. Sorry.
college.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't say so. I had some really good teammates when I was in college. Like,
Gotcha.
yeah, I had this guy. His name was Chad, who I wrestled with my freshman year. He was like a beast. I think he was a Virginia State champ once or twice.
Oh, wow. Good for him.
yeah,
That's
in the
good.
room.
Yeah.
Yeah, like there were some really good guys in that room. It's not like the room was like weak or anything. Like it was competition. He was a 49-pounder and I was a 65.
Yeah.
And he would give me, he'd pick me up and slam me on my back.
Going back,
He was an animal.
and another thing is like going back to the nerves part. I
Yeah.
just wanted to ask you this question: was the nerves the same when you did wrestling compared to jiu-jitsu, or no?
No, the nerves in jiu-jitsu weren't as well. Actually,
Really?
I would say probably not quite as much. I feel like I didn't
You were more
I didn't-
confident?
in jiu-jitsu. Yeah,
Yeah?
I didn't get like that crazy nervous really for the most part.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know.
Why?
There's not as much on the line, really. You know what I mean? I felt like
I guess
I just paid some money and I go and I'm gonna roll with these guys if I
that
get.
is true. Whereas compared to your high school wrestling career, that's a big deal, you know. And then going into college,
yeah, even college too. There's a lot of riding on a lot of those matches. I feel like, whereas in jiu-jitsu, it's like, you know what I mean? If you lose, it's not like it's the end of the world.
Especially with maybe some of those tournaments. But did you want to do something before you got injured? Were you planning on like trying to?
I just want to keep getting better. You know, keep training.
Yeah.
Keep going against better guys.
But you're still so young. I know the injuries, you know, the hiccups and stuff, but
you
didn't train jiu-jitsu for how long after your last knee injury since Chris got his brown belt? Was it a year and a half since you've been on a mat again?
So, well, I was in the youth room a little bit coaching wrestling.
Oh, okay.
But
gotcha.
yeah, I mean, I was rolling with like 12, 10-year-olds, whatever, you know. But yeah, I think it had been. So I blew up my knee.
Were they pinning you and stuff? Like all of them were like taking you down.
Dude, some of those kids were getting to my legs. My legs are slow now.
But well, Riley actually said before the podcast, we were talking about this in the car. He was like, I think I could double leg.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So we were thinking about. Yeah. So we're gonna start breaking some stuff down, and we're gonna pull out the wrestling mat, and we're gonna.
He was like, should I say that? And I was like, no. Don't say
all you gotta do is get this leg in the air, make me bounce on this knee, and then you're gonna be all right.
Yeah, he's gonna bring a hammer, but when he shakes your hand, so he can start hitting you in the knee.
Right.
Nah, but how? So
what was the question again?
But with grappling, you weren't grappling from after you obviously injured your.
Yeah, I didn't really do. I mean, I wasn't lifting or doing anything for a long time. You know.
Jeez,
I think it was like so. I had my initial surgery, so I tore my ACL, MCL, PCL, meniscus. So the first surgery was like a few days after.
So you tore every L in the book.
Jeez.
Yeah, except for the LCL, which is like the outside
like Joe Burrow
ligament.
Yeah.
Who?
Joe Burrow.
Oh yeah, the NFL. Yeah. I didn't know he did that.
yeah, he did tear his ACL, LCL, MCL, WL, PCL.
Yeah, all
every
L's.
L.
Yeah,
but continue.
Yeah, it was like I think it was November 10th of 21. I had my first surgery, and then it was March 10th. 22, I had my second surgery.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so they did like I think it was MCL.
Wow, you had two
MCL meniscus, and then they went in and did ACL. So it's been like just over a year since my second surgery, you know.
And they did a surgery on your What were the two surgeries? Like, how did they split it?
So what they did was the meniscus and the MCL, which is actually a lot more painful. I thought the second one would be worse.
You could feel it? They didn't numb you?
Oh, well, yeah, they numb you, but the following weeks, like I was in crazy amount of pain.
I was like, wait a minute.
No, I was out. I was out. Yeah,
I was like, wait, what?
I was on pain meds and everything.
But numb you.
But even with
Dave's
like
awake and his whole legs. No. But it was worse after, is what you're saying.
I would say it was worse after the MCL meniscus for sure, than after the ACL.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
I mean.
But the biggest issue was like the scar tissue buildup. So I think I did, like, they wanted me in rehab right away as soon as I could be, you know, after the first surgery. But then it was like I was in rehab for a few months, and they wanted to do the next surgery, but they had to hold off because I was so stiff.
I got you.
So then I had to go under again. And they had to like snap the scar tissue, and then like a week later, went in, had the second surgery.
All over again.
Yeah, had the second surgery, and then from there, you know, just kind of worked my way back.
When you were sitting at home, going to work, and you're not grappling, you're not wrestling.
Yeah.
Was it hard not working out?
I mean, no, it's just good having an outlet. I feel like that's the biggest thing.
I mean, you were probably just losing your mind, right? Like, you had to have been.
To a degree, for sure, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, are you still like that now? Because you, other than the brown belt, you know, when Chris got his brown belt,
I haven't done much lately at all with that stuff.
So I mean,
lifting's somewhat of an outlet, but it's not really the same level. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so
I miss it for sure.
When do you think you'll get back to at least drilling?
Drilling? I mean, I could technically do like some drilling now. The thing is, if I start doing that, then I'm going to want to start going live. Then I'm going to want to start competing. Then I'm going to want to start, you know, trying to go against better guys.
You said 70% your knee is right now?
I mean, I have like, I could jog and stuff. I can't really sprint yet. You know, my muscle mass isn't there yet.
Yeah.
It's probably the biggest thing.
Year and a half?
Years. Yeah, it's been about a year and a half.
And you said
Or it's been a year since my second surgery, but like a year and a half since my injury, roughly.
And they say wait 2?
Technically, I could compete or do like anything with sports right now, but I got to wear like a big brace. You couldn't even wear in jiu-jitsu. You know, like I technically should wear that. Like if I wore it, it would like rip your fingers apart. You know, if you grab my leg.
Jeez, dude, that sucks.
So you're supposed to wear that for like a full year after the first year of rehab. So, you know, technically you probably want to wait like another year, you know, until I have like, you know, equal strength in my knees.
That is
have like mobility. And I can, you know, another thing is like the way I can jump and stuff isn't the same. I always favor the one side, you know, so I got to work on, you know, just a list.
Is that your lead leg?
No. My right leg's my lead leg. Okay. So yeah, I blew up. It was my left knee. So
jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that, man. I hope
That is what it is.
I hope you. So when do you think you will come back? Do you have any timeline? I know you're saying like you technically
doing jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know if I'll end up getting back into it too much or not. I'd like
really.
to.
Oh,
yeah.
so you might never do it again.
I mean, I'd like to like mess around, train a little bit maybe, but I don't know if I'd want to like actually compete.
And it's because you're too worried about your
yeah. So I'm thinking I'd probably eventually get back into just coaching wrestling. Yeah. Because I know wrestling. I've done that for.
So you think it could be over? Your jiu-jitsu deal is done. Because of the scare. You're saying because because you're
because
you're
of
scared.
certain,
it's
you're
scared of the knee. I'm not saying you're scared.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying you're scared because of the scare of the injury reoccurring. Because you don't want to go through another.
Yeah, the thing is like the full like if you watch matches now, it's all going into
legs,
guard
man.
and heel hooks and stuff, and I'm like, got to look at where I'll be in another 15, 20 years.
Yeah,
it's kind of something I have to think about. I want to be able to function when I'm my 30s, 40s. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, if you don't want to
be able to walk, stuff like that would be nice. You know what I mean?
Rolling in.
Dave's gonna be 26. We're gonna film another podcast. He's gonna be coming in a wheelchair because he can't walk.
Gotta be able to work. You know what I mean? It's kind of nice to walk around.
Be able to walk. Man, that sucks. That this headset keeps freaking
cutting in and out still.
When you did wrestle in college, right? Comparatively to high school, is there a big difference?
Yeah, 100%.
In what ways? All favored towards college? College is a completely different animal. Is that what you mean by the differences? Or
everybody's tough in college. Like in high school, I feel like you go through the season, like you'd face a few really tough kids, but there's a lot of kids who like aren't really, they're like they're doing it to stay in shape and stuff. You know what I mean? Everybody in college is tough, regardless of if you're wrestling club, if you're wrestling D1, like
because everybody obviously cares
enough
to
I
go.
lost a lot of matches my freshman year. I know that.
In college.
Yeah, like I went to the club national tournament my freshman year. I didn't place. I don't think.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, here's another crazy thing is that like when you say stuff like that, that's why I get interested. Like with jiu-jitsu, you just said that it's a completely different thing, and you're worried, but. All these people that are about to do this tournament that I'm about to compete in, they all they got to be decent enough to sign up, right?
They're definitely confident.
Yeah, I think, right?
Because if they sign up,
were they just like, I'm just going to sign here's $70, I'm going to sign up and I'm going to get dismantled? Like, I don't know. I feel like most people who are going to sign up,
they're confident.
They're confident in something.
Yeah, when you want that, would you want everyone who goes to?
No, I want. Yeah, no, I don't want.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like you got to look at like these sort of tournaments as kind of a challenge to up your game a little bit. I'd rather face like a couple guys who are like smooth in their guard and stuff. You know what I mean? Make me realize my weaknesses than face like kids who really shouldn't be there. Sort of thing.
I'd much rather want competition compared to a tournament compared to like
10 tin cans.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like that's. You know what I mean? It's not like you're competing for like money or anything for this one. So I would, I'd really focus on,
trying to
like
just get better.
Like you want to go against good guys, but you want to get to that point where it's like, you know what? I trained hard. I want to face guys who are good.
And
a big challenge myself. Yeah,
and a big thing for me is like, I just want to know where I'm at.
One nice thing about grappling industries is like they just broke it up. So you just did like all your matches. You did like 5 matches in the span of like a half hour, 45 minutes, maybe.
Is that how they do it?
Yeah, this is grappling industries.
Yeah, I know it's a little bit different than
it was crazy because in wrestling you have to have like a mandatory 30, 40-minute break, in high school and college.
Yeah, you didn't for.
Yeah, but for jiu-jitsu, they're just like, okay, you went out there, here's one match between you, go out again,
Jeez.
Yeah, so my forms, after gi, my forms were so done.
Oh, I'm
it was
sure.
Insane. And then I had to like rest for an hour, and then I did no gi.
The grips, man, it is whole other ball.
It's a lot of fun though,
Yeah, I'm excited. So we'll see how it goes. It's I hope I do well, and it'll be a good way to be able to see where I'm at. Yeah. And I was actually originally I wasn't gonna do this, and but because we were supposed to be going to UFC 288 in New Jersey, it's coming up. But Charles Oliveira was supposed to be fighting, and it got scrapped because he had an injury, so they postponed it. So we don't want to go now as much.
Gotcha.
I'm not gonna blow a whole bunch of money. Yeah, the card's kind of.
Gotcha.
Aljamain Sterling's actually the main event of that card. Him against Henry Cejudo. Yeah,
that's gonna be a good one, I think.
Yeah, who do you think's gonna win that?
It'd be cool to see Cejudo come back and win that one, but it's gonna be tough.
It's gonna be tough.
It's gonna be really
After
tough.
3 years, you know.
Well, Sterling's he's a well-rounded fighter and he's good on the ground.
Yeah,
but-
he's really good on the ground. But
Yeah.
Ring rust is really a thing too.
you think so? I don't
3
know.
years?
With some
Well, I
people.
think doesn't Cejudo train with Demetrius Johnson?
And John Jones, and he's in the
And
Hen-
Mike
I don't know how much
Tyson.
John Jones is doing for him.
Yeah,
but
probably not,
Demetrius
but-
Johnson for sure.
yeah, Demetrius Johnson.
Like, I think Demetrius
he's got a fight
Johnson
coming
would
up
be-
pretty soon too
Yeah.
against
gonna
the guy
be
you lost
against
to and
Moraes.
then won. I'm bummed that you don't think you're gonna come back. I know it's because
Yeah,
of
I
the
mean,
I
I-
get it. It just sucks. I thought,
Yeah,
jeez.
I don't know, man. I'd
But
like
you
to.
announced it here on the Talk About podcast. Everybody, Dave's not coming back. Nah, I'm just kidding.
We'll see, man.
We'll see what happens. I hope you.
I mean, I'd like to, but I gotta look. think about my future.
Yeah, you
What
don't-
I-
like I
I
said,
walk around with
Makes
Next time we
total
have you on the
sense.
knee I can't walk
podcast.
around with.
I don't want you to be coming in here with crutches and wheelchairs, and Riley's gonna have to put wheelbarrow and barrel you in here and
Chris
stuff.
ripping my knees apart.
Yeah.
We don't want that.
Yeah, man, that sucks. But thank you so much for doing this podcast,
Yeah.
man. I really
man.
appreciate
Thank you guys.
Thank you for doing it.
Yeah, man.
And Dave, what's your Instagram? Do you know it off the top of your head? Actually,
I gotta look at it.
you know what? Don't even worry about
I
it.
want to say
'cause
it's Dave Cox .1 or something.
Okay, I'll put it up. You don't even have to look at it. I'll
Okay.
figure it out.
Yeah, I
So
don't-
it's all good. Follow Dave on Instagram.
I mean, thank you guys for having
Shout
me.
out Penn Delmar Power for letting us be here again. This is our new home for Talk About. Shout out Revolution. Go on revbjj.com. You guys can sign up. You guys can do the cardio kickboxing class. You guys can sign up for jiu-jitsu. Whatever you guys do. It's a great gym, and you guys can always do that. Like I said, thank you so much, Dave, for doing
I
this.
mean, thank you guys.
Riley, got anything else to say?
No.
Cool. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys have a good day, and peace.